deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack, Worley III.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and members of the Mack Pack, it's great to be back with you. I am Mack, Worley III, and this is On the Move, the show that attempts to inspire you to stand up for your rights. First of all, I want to thank you for joining me today. I sure do appreciate you taking the time. And today is September 21st, 2014, and we have a good show in store for you today. With that said, we're going to be talking about all sorts of different stuff in the news. We've got a lot of stuff on the table. One thing in particular that I would like to cover today is ISIS. I want to talk about ISIS. They are otherwise known as the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria. We're going to talk about what our politicians are doing in reaction to ISIS, and at least what we're being told, what their intentions are. Also, I want to hear from you guys today. Our Mack Pack phone lines are open, so light them up. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. If you have any topic that you'd like to discuss, please feel free to call in. Everything is on the table, so you can call in. You can join the conversation in several other ways. You can tweet us at OnTheMoveShow. You can email us at talk@OnTheMoveShow. And, of course, again, you can call in 619-924-0986. Today we're going to be joined by Daniel Decker of the Ammo Pack. That's AMMO-PAC, P-A-C. And she's going to be talking about a news story that I'm looking forward to getting into. So stay tuned for that. She's going to be she should be on here somewhere around 5:15 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 8:15 Eastern Standard Time. We also might be joined here today by Rick Halley. He's the member of the Gun Rights Coalition. He's basically been running the show over there for a while and doing a great job. That was printed in the Columbian. So stay tuned for that. You don't want to miss that. It involves the Second Amendment rights. So anyway, don't forget to check us out at onthemoveshow.com, here at blogtalkradio.com/onthemoveshow, facebook.com/onthemoveshow, and youtube.com/onthemoveshow. Again, you can always check us out on our YouTube, youtube.com/onthemoveshow. Make sure you subscribe and follow us on Twitter as well, twitter.com/onthemoveshow. And on our website, onthemoveshow.com, we have a shop link on there as well. We got a bunch of stuff on there for sale, so any product that you guys see on there that you're interested in, like I said, we got tons of stuff like T-shirts, freeze-dried foods, books that I recommend reading, bumper stickers, and a whole lot more. So please feel free to check that out, and all your purchases will go towards our program here. We're going to put the money back in, get better equipment, get better services, better internet connection, so we don't have it dropping out like we usually have been having here recently, it seems like. So feel free to check that out. So anyway, it's been a little while since I've broadcast you guys. We've been kind of busy as usual. But it is great to be back with you guys. Like I said, it's been a busy week. What have we been up to here? Let's see. So my wife and I, we went to get some more reading material. We've been getting really into reading lately. One of the books that I want to talk about here in a little bit is The Giver, and we saw the movie as well. So anyway, a lot of the stuff that I read, it's kind of dry. So the stuff that I'm into, it's history related. It's it can be kind of dry at times. So one of the things that I was trying to do is find something to kind of spice it up, add a little bit of fiction in there, and do something different, something that's not going to take a whole bunch of time to read. So we've got all this reading material, huge stacks of books that we're working our way through, and I've got a bunch of history books, like I said, and my wife, she's like really into like fantasy stuff and things like that. So she's reading a different kind of stuff than me. But neither of us have really been into what we just recently got. We decided to go to a local comic book store this week, and it was really kind of funny. Neither of us have read comics before, or not read many anyway, and I just thought it was hilarious watching my wife's inner nerd come out. When she entered the store, she likes to pretend that she's not a nerd, but I think deep inside of her, there's a nerd waiting to get out. And, you know, it's funny. As soon as she walked in, she wanted everything. She loves the Incredible Hulk, first of all. So, you know, in there it was like, you know, she was going nuts. She wanted everything Incredible Hulk. But also she's really into the series and the books, Game of Thrones. Those are some of the books that she's actually reading now. And she was practically salivating over everything related to those comics. And, you know, we had a fun time in the store. We both ended up getting a few comics. And, you know, I just think it's funny that my wife was probably the first woman to enter this store that wasn't being dragged in there by her husband. And it just makes me laugh thinking about it. Anyway, so we're moving on. Today, we're going to move to the next segment of the show, and we like to refer to it as the Weekly Defender. And, of course, I got to load the clip. It'll be a second.
And now it's time for the Weekly Defender. You have the right to defend your life, the right to defend your family, and the right to defend your freedom.
All right, this is a segment where I report about armed citizens in the news who have used their firearms to defend their family, their property, and or themselves. Our first Weekly Defender we found on WJCL in Savannah, Georgia. Clerk Rick Patel was working at a Shell Food Mart in Claxton, Georgia, when a hooded man approached the counter and attempted to rob the store at gunpoint. Patel responded by retrieving a pistol, which he then used to chase the criminal out of the store. Police suspect... that doesn't make sense. The hooded man has committed several other robberies, and following the incident, Patel told Savannah's WJCL, I don't like to shoot nobody, but when it comes to my life, I would. And thank God I didn't get hurt. I didn't kill him. Otherwise, I would have regretted. But hey, you made the choice. Regrets happen. In recent years, some convenience store clerks have faced discipline following an act of armed self-defense. In a welcome departure from these instances, the owner of Patel's store told the TV station, "I'm really proud. Whatever he did, I'd like it if everyone started doing it that way. Robbery will be stopped, especially for convenience stores." So, you know, I've actually covered a few times where we've had a clerk at a convenience store who lost his job, and you know, they've gone by the argument, you know, they can get another job, they can't get another life. You know, you can't recover from that if you are killed. So from what I've seen, typically a lot of these clerks are standing up against this kind of stuff, and whether or not it costs them their job or not, they don't really care. They just want to protect themselves, be able to defend themselves, and as you all know, you have a right to defend yourself. So, you know, no matter what your store policy is, no matter what, you know, insurance companies will say about that, you have an absolute right to defend yourself. And, you know, I have to applaud this man and the company for not firing him. You know, I heard a story not too long ago about a Walgreens employee that had been fired because he defended himself. And, you know, that kind of stuff is despicable. What do they expect you to do, stand there and just be a soft target? Actually, yes, that's exactly what they expect. So, anyway, our next Weekly Defender we found on the Omaha World-Herald in Nebraska. Barbara Haley was at home in Omaha, Nebraska when she was awakened by her dog barking. Suspicious, Haley retrieved a .45 caliber revolver and went to investigate. Initially, Haley didn't find anyone in the home and went back to bed. However, another noise roused Haley again, at which point she discovered an intruder in a bedroom closet. Haley ordered the man to stay still and held him at gunpoint in the closet until police arrived. Following the incident, Haley told the local media outlet, "I'm glad that I had a gun, and I'm thinking they, i.e. the burglars, won't try this anytime soon." That was reported on September 2nd, 2014. And, you know, I think it's amazing that these things are reported. It doesn't say how long it took that the police to arrive, but you know, I can speak from personal experience. You know, when I was out open carrying and whatnot, I was out there for about a half hour, and you know, I was talking with people and enjoying people's conversations and whatnot, and I was out there for over a half hour before any police even arrived at all. You know, and not that they should have arrived, because I wasn't doing anything wrong, I wasn't violating any laws, but the fact is that they responded a half hour later. You know, first of all, we can get into the whole topic of no mass shooter in history has ever walked around for a half hour with their firearm in public before shooting anyone. That's never happened, and there are zero instances of open carriers opening fire after walking around. It just doesn't happen. But on that same note, it took 30 minutes for police to respond. If they, in fact, actually believed that it was something serious that they needed to respond to, why did it take them 30 minutes? I happen to know for a fact that one of the precincts was literally 2 minutes driving around the corner from where I was. So it took them 30 minutes. This just goes to illustrate the point that you cannot rely on the police. And in this situation, Miss Haley over here, she defended her family. She defended her life. I don't know if anybody else was in the home. The article doesn't say anything about that. But what I will say is that who knows how long she had to stand there, terrified, holding this burglar at gunpoint, worried that she may end up, losing control of the situation and this guy could kill her. But thank goodness she had a firearm. That was the only thing that kept this burglar at bay. Who knows what his intentions were? I mean, he could have been in there to rape her, to kill her, to steal. Who knows? Could have been anything. And, I have to say, good on her, way to go. And, we here at On the Move, we love hearing about how law-abiding citizens use their firearms to protect themselves. You have a right to defend your life. You have a right to defend your family. And more importantly, you have a right to defend your freedom. We at On the Move, we support your rights. And if you have a story about how you lawfully defended yourself or you'd like to comment on one of these stories, we would love to hear from you. Give us a call. The Mack phone lines are open. The number to the show is 619-924-0986, or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. So anyway, at this point, we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about some of the things that are going on. I want to talk about the situation with Daniel Decker and Ammo Pack. And actually give you guys a little bit of heads up what Ammo Pack is, what they're out here doing. And I see now we have Daniel on the line, or Danielle, I'm sorry, I'm saying it wrong. And we will be right back to talk about this some more, so don't go anywhere, guys.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us. So today we got a lot of topics to cover. Like I said, we're going to be talking about all sorts of shenanigans that are going on right now. And I really would like to hear from you guys today, so please feel free to give us a call. The number to the show is, of course, 619-924-0986. Again, that's 619-924-0986. So first and foremost, I want to talk a little bit about a group that, I just kind of got connected here with from Danielle Decker, and I want to talk about Ammo Pack. So Ammo Pack is American mothers who are joining together in solidarity for rights. They have a mission statement that they have released, and I want to read this mission statement first before I bring Danielle on the line. The mission statement is as follows: We, American mothers, are on a mission. And don't get these guys confused with the anti-gunners, the Bloomberg organization. So anyway, they're on a mission. Whether it is selling out of our children and their future, the abandonment of the veterans after risking their lives both at home and abroad, or the erosion of our most basic rights as human beings, America is now under attack. This land of liberty has been remade into something else entirely, and we here at Ammo Pack come together as one to say no more. Our mission is to protect our rights, and they have these listed in several categories. First one is our rights, our children, and our veterans. So the rights ones says, from the Bill of Rights to our bodies to our own backyards, our right to live our lives as we see fit according to what is best for us and our families is slowly dying. From our right to protect our lives, families, and properties as ensured by the Second Amendment, our right to decide for ourselves what we put into our bodies, government and special interest groups have for too long been allowed to trample those rights. We will no longer stand for this. We will fight this repressive policy, and we will expose those men and women who support such policy. They wish to protect our children. We protect our children because that is our job. We will not stand idly by as bureaucrats and collectivists work side by side to destroy the concepts of identity, personal morality, and beliefs, independence, self-reliance, and self-worth in our children. We will not allow power-hungry politicians to use our children as data collection portals. We will fight destructive and intrusive policy, and we will expose those men and women who support such policy. Our veterans are our parents, our grandparents, our sons and daughters, our brothers and our sisters, our aunts and our uncles. Our veterans stood up and answered a call. They readied themselves and did what was asked of them, sacrificing more than most of us could fathom. They signed a contract promising to do this, and in return we promised just compensation that included health care and pay, and with them, respect and dignity. But our veterans are being abandoned, and because their contractor is also their arbiter, they have virtually no recourse. We protect our veterans because they protected us. We support a strong military, one that protects America and is given what they are promised. We do not support unnecessary use of the military around the world that risks lives and keeps families apart. We will fight to keep our men and women in uniform home whenever possible, cared for and protected when not possible, and honored when they are through. We will fight policy that abandons our veterans and will expose men and women who support such policy. We are Ammo Pack, and this is our mission. All right, so you can find them on Facebook. Search Ammo Pack, AMMO-PAC, Ammo Pack. And you can also follow them on Twitter at Ammo Pack. That's AMMOPAC. Or you can go to their website, ammopack.org, AMMOPAC.org. So right now I have Danielle Decker. She is on the line, and we're going to talk a little bit about something that they're working on right now. Are you there, Danielle?
I am.
How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's always a fun day to be on the radio. So I know you guys have something that you're currently working on. So I'll just get to the meat of what's going on. What is on the agenda for Ammo Pack?
Right now we are hosting a benefit concert. We're co-hosting with 1 Million Moms Against Gun Control, and we are raising money for Shaneen Allen. Mostly, basically just for living expenses for her and her two boys.
And can you give our listeners a little bit of background on Shaneen Allen's situation? I personally have been following this, but I'd like to hear your take on it.
Shaneen was pulled over while she was in New Jersey. She was carrying, she had her handgun locked up in her car. She was pulled over for a routine traffic stop and voluntarily told the police, that she had a permit and that her gun was with her, and she was arrested for it.
I see. And she had a permit, is that correct?
Yes, she had a permit for the state that she is from, and I believe like 6 other states or 5 other states, something like that.
Yeah. From what I understand, Allen had a permit for her gun for the state of Pennsylvania. but New Jersey does not reciprocate the Pennsylvania gun permit. And, despite the fact that, Alan has actually volunteered that she was possessing the gun during her traffic stop, she's still been arrested and charged with a felony. So
yeah,
this is something to me, I have a major problem with, first of all, just attacking a mother just for simply carrying a firearm, something that is obviously a victimless crime. She didn't use it. She wasn't threatening anybody. In fact, nobody would have known had she not offered it up to the police to begin with.
Exactly.
But her honesty kind of bit her in the butt in this situation, and it's rather unfortunate. So what are you guys trying to do specifically to help her out?
Well, like I said, we are having the benefit concert, and so we're selling tickets for that. You can get them online on our website. We are over here on the West Coast. It's kind of hard for us to attend. So if we would like to help out here, we have T-shirts that we are selling. We have 2 different ones. One of them has a quote on it from Martin Luther King. It says, "The ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy." And the other T-shirt has a quote from Thomas Jefferson, "In matters of principle, stand like a rock." And so I think those are both very fitting. We need to sell. We have 8 days left to sell, and so that will help us get the funds that we need. Also, if any businesses would like to help sponsor the concert, there is different price packages and all that I'm not all hooked into really. But we would love to have local businesses here. I think across the country that we need the support, not just from Philadelphia and New Jersey.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, even out here in Washington, I personally think it's important that we get involved in situations like that are kind of, out of our jurisdiction, have nothing really to do with us, but it does, in fact, have something to do with us. My personal take on it, first of all, is I think it's just outrageous to begin with that we are required to get permission to do something that is a right. And then on top of this, this individual actually went through the process of asking permission from the government to conceal carry, which is, again, the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. So limiting someone from carrying in any way that they choose, as long as they're not threatening anyone or imposing their will on someone else, using coercion, as long as they're not doing anything harmful, then they're well within their rights. But anyway, I digress. She went out. She wasn't hurting anyone. She even got a permit. And the problem here is that the state that she crossed borders into does not reciprocate the permit. And they probably even have their own permit system. I don't know about New Jersey, but I'm positive that there's something there that you can get a permit in that process. They just don't reciprocate Pennsylvania, which I think is just silly. You go across an arbitrary line, and suddenly now you're a felon. To me, it doesn't make sense. What are your thoughts on this?
I think they're just the punishment doesn't fit the crime. She volunteered the information. They never would have known because they wouldn't have asked for just the route. She had her boys with her, So, yeah, I just think it's too stiff of a punishment, and they need to, we all need to back her up and let them know that we're not going to take this.
Absolutely.
Because this could have been me. It could have been me out with my kids, getting arrested for something minor.
Absolutely. Yeah, believe me, I know exactly what you mean. And to me, it's really upsetting that we've allowed things to get this bad. The fact is the gun grabbers, they say, why can't we just compromise? Why can't gun owners just compromise? It doesn't make sense to them that we cannot, just let a little bit go. And I think that as far as groups compromising, I think that gun owners have been the most compromising group on the planet in terms of this argument. The only compromise that the gun control advocates are willing to make is that they're willing to allow us to have whatever guns that they wish, until they get all of them.
But they will allow.
Exactly, and we're faced with these crazy ubiquitous laws that are really, I mean, you can go, not even across a state border, but you can go, for example, in Oregon. I'm out here on the Pacific Northwest, and in Oregon, there's a county. I can't recall which one it is now. I can't believe I'm dumb. I think it's Multnomah County. They have a law that says that you need a concealed carry permit to open carry. And even though the state, it's lawful to open carry in the state, when you go into that county, suddenly you now need a concealed carry permit to open carry. Things like this, the laws are so complex. You might as well be looking at the tax code. It's made like this to turn us into felons. Law-abiding citizens are being victimized and turned into criminals so that they can't carry again. And to me, it's just outrageous. We need to support Miss Allen as much as possible. And, I'm just curious, Danielle, what actually got you into this kind of activism?
Well, I believe, that we should have the right to protect ourselves. I'm a petite woman, and I've been robbed by gunpoint at my job. Well, he said he had a gun. I didn't see it, but I wasn't going to call his bluff. Mm-hmm. I've had a guy who said he was a taxi driver try his hardest to break in through my front door while I was home alone. So these are reasons that I feel I have the right to protect myself. And now I have 2 children that I have with me, like almost all the time. So it is not my job to protect me now, but I need to protect them. And so and my plan really is to be ready for any possible scenario.
That's the way to be. I think it's awesome that more women are getting into this thing. It's typically, firearms had like a stigma that women, didn't really get involved in. And I love the fact that women nowadays are getting involved in this. And all you have to do is just look at like groups like Open Carry Texas. They got women out there that are doing this, and they're opposing these gun grabber groups that are organized, so-called organized by mothers. Mothers against I can't remember what the acronym is. The Bloomberg group. Maybe you know what I'm talking about.
Mothers against. Oh, now you made me forget. Mad.
Yeah.
Mom's Demand Action, that's what it is.
There we go. Yeah, Mom's Demand Action. So I love the fact that other mothers out there who are on the other end of the spectrum are actually coming out and voicing where they stand and opposing these groups, saying, look, you don't represent all mothers. Just because you're funded by a billionaire organization, that doesn't necessarily mean that your voice represents everybody. And I love the fact that other mothers are coming up and supporting gun rights, and I just think it's amazing, and I'm really happy and thankful for what you guys are doing. Do you guys have any? Are you involved in any like other organizations that you're affiliated with that you'd want to talk about at all? I'm
in the Gun Rights Coalition here in Washington with a representative. I'm the representative for Ammo Pack, so it's, I work together here with other gun groups, other Second Amendment groups. To do different rallies and stuff in the state, and right now we're really pushing information and awareness on I-594. Absolutely,
yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about that a little more in the show here. For those of you out there that don't know what I-594 is, it's a really poorly written law that Bloomberg is trying to push through, and he's using a lot of his money and influence to basically try it out in Washington as a test for the rest of the nation. So. We'll get into that a little bit more. I have Rick Halley from the Gun Rights Coalition. He's going to be on next. So I really appreciate you joining us today, Danielle. And if you guys have anything else going on, please feel free to give me a holler, and I'll get you guys on the show to try to get the information out there.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. This was my first experience, and it was really fun.
Yeah, well, it's great to have you. You guys are welcome back on the show anytime. So thanks again. And don't forget to check out their information. They got a website, again, that's ammopack.org, and on Twitter, ammopack. And on Facebook, search Ammo Pack, AMMO-PAC. You should be able to find them on there. And we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break. Thank you so much for joining us, Danielle, and we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, guys.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
And we're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us. Again, if you want to join today's conversation, the number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, 619-924-0986. And we have here our next guest coming on the show. His name is Rick Halley. He's in charge or a member of somehow, I think you're running the show over there at the Gun Rights Coalition. Is that right, Rick?
I'm the national leader, or I basically work with all of the various groups to keep them all gathered together so that we're all united in the same effort.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, I just want to say thank you. I do appreciate your time for coming on to the show. And again, this is not the first time you've been on the show before. We've talked several times about numerous topics, but I really do appreciate you taking the time today to join us. First things first, I want to talk specifically about something that happened to you that was recently reported in the Colombian newspaper and the online version of it here. They have a story on you that says the title is "Election Observer Was Okay to Wear a Gun. Others present say they felt unsafe, but county can't change state's rules." So, first of all, if you would please give our listeners a brief overview of what happened and how you were affiliated with the story.
Well, what it boils down to is I wanted to get more of a knowledge of the election observer process. I wanted to see the election process itself, get an inside look at it to see if there's any fraud going on or if we have any problems there. So I went ahead and took the class so I could be certified as an election observer. And then following that, with the primary election here, I volunteered for the local Republican Party here to observe. Now, I don't necessarily. That's something that may be misunderstood by some people that are reading the article, but I don't really consider myself a Republican. However, because of the way that the laws are here, I have to select either Republican or Democratic, one or the other, the two major parties, before I can actually serve as an observer. So I chose the Republican Party because they're the closest, with the two parties here to my beliefs and my feelings. So I did do that.
Mm-hmm.
I volunteered, and then when I went in, like and most of the people that know me know, I carry my firearm everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I open carry because that's here it's legal to do so. And so, for the day that I went in to observe, it was no different day, different on that day for me than any other day, and so I did so. Went in, observed for a couple of hours, afterwards, left, signed out, and came home. Thought nothing of it.
Mm-hmm.
No one indicated that they had any problems or anything, or that they were scared or anything. Which is typical.
No one was.
Every experience.
No one looked afraid. No one was running away. No one said anything to you at all, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. That is correct. Yeah, and that's typical of my experience when I'm out open carrying. I know many think that people freak out when they see someone that's open carrying. However, I do so all the time, and I've never experienced that.
So what else happened? The aftermath of this.
Okay, now the aftermath. A couple of days later, I received a phone call from Lauren Bake at the Columbian, asking me some questions about it, and so I went ahead and answered those questions, and then they had an article on it, basically that it spurred an open carry debate, which was fine and dandy. I have no problem with that, and for the simple fact that I would rather have an open dialogue where we can discuss it. And that actually opened that dialogue. I think she actually was pretty fair in her reporting. She accurately quoted me, not just in that article, but in the one yesterday as well.
And you're talking about Lauren Dake, is that right? That's the author of the article?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So,
yes, she accurately quoted me, which without how the reporters are sometimes, they'll twist things around and make it as if you said something you didn't. Well, she didn't do that. So on that count, I was happy with how she reported it. So
I see. So as far as the exchange now, some of the aftermath, from what I'm understanding, you've kind of gotten some flack about it and everything. And Jim, I believe his name is Moeller, if I'm saying that right. He's a politician out here, and he has been kind of firing on you and kind of attacking you about it. Do you have anything that you want to say about that?
Jim Moeller, this isn't the first time that he's attacked open carry people. He actually not long ago came out with a statement that he made on his own page there on Facebook, where he said that, and he's actually the House Speaker here in Washington currently, and he actually came out with a statement that said that when they go back to business, when the House goes back to business, if there is anyone open carrying in the gallery, he will refuse to do business.
So it sounds like he's promising not to do his job. I think I heard
yes, that's correct. That's correct. He's promising that if there is anyone open carrying in the gallery, which is perfectly legal in the state of Washington, if there is anyone open carrying in the gallery, he said he will not do business.
And from what I
he
understand,
again said that.
From what I understand, there's a movement to actually people go open carry in the hopes that he won't do business because people don't want him in there. So, what are your thoughts on that?
On that, he's the one that lowered the challenge on it, and therefore, I do know that there are several people, and I may actually myself end up being among them that show up when business starts back up to see if he is going to follow through with what he said.
Absolutely.
Primarily because his comments are, they're a direct affront to our right to keep and bear arms, and our personal rights right here in the state. And he's basically said that if we exercise our rights in this state, he's not going to do any business. So
Jim, he wrote here in a post on that article in regards to you. He says, "What great irony! Rick Halley wore the firearm to feel," and he's using quotes here, "safe. Yet others felt," again in quotes, "unsafe with him wearing the firearm." RCW 9.41.270 provides that it is unlawful for a person to carry, exhibit, display, or draw a firearm in a manner under circumstances in a time and place that either manifest intent, and this isn't even part of the actual law. I don't recall seeing intent in there, but maybe I'm wrong. Intent to intimidate another or warrants alarm for the safety of others. Maybe I'm mistaken on that, but he's saying that it's a gross misdemeanor what you did. But in fact, that law has been narrowed. You know my experience with that law. We personally both have become very familiar with this law. I don't feel, first of all, that you did anything wrong even remotely. I mean, obviously, where you carried was totally lawful for you to carry. Otherwise, you wouldn't have done it. And as far as intent to intimidate another, I know you personally, and I have seen, every time I've seen you, you have a pistol on your side. There's no intent to alarm or intimidate anyone. It's all about your personal safety and obviously the assertion of your rights. Am I right on that?
Oh, that's correct. That's correct. My personal safety, those around me, like I've told Lauren Dake in both of the conversations I had with her, I just don't know when I walk out the door what I'm going to encounter. And it's not, no one else has the responsibility to protect me or those I care about or those around me other than myself. It's impossible for me to rely upon others to do that. And therefore, just like if I climb in the car to go down the street, I put my seatbelt on because I might get in an accident. It's not because I think I'm going to. I actually don't. Same thing when I get on a motorcycle, I put my helmet on, not because I think I'm going to get in an accident, but just in case, so that I'm prepared. Same thing goes with the reason that I choose to carry a firearm. As to my reason for open carrying as opposed to concealed carrying, there's a reason for that as well. And the reason for that is that I don't want to ever have to choose to take a life if I don't have to, criminal or not. And therefore, I would much prefer a criminal if I'm standing in a convenience store buying a six-pack of soda. I would much rather them walk in, see the firearm on my side, and turn around and walk out than to have to be confronted because I kept my firearm hidden and they thought that I was unarmed.
Absolutely. And that there's no way that you can actually show any kind of statistics or anything of how many times open carriers have actually deterred crime. The fact is that the crime never happened, so there's no way to tell. We can pull out statistics of how many times concealed carry permit holders have stopped crimes and things like that. But there is no way at all to even determine how many times a year open carriers have even just deterred a crime from even happening to begin with. And I definitely agree with where you're coming from. I got a question, though, for you. Do you believe that Jim Moeller's interpretation of the RCW 9.41.270 was correct? What are your thoughts on his interpretation?
I don't even think it's just my thoughts on it. I think it's the state's thoughts on it. There have been, it's already been grounded in case law, the simple act of carrying a firearm in a holster safely by itself. The law doesn't apply to it, and that's grounded in case law here already. Where it may not, where it becomes foggy, is if someone is doing something that may be interpreted as being an intimidating or bullying or brandishing, that type of action, which in this case clearly there wasn't. No one expressed any alarm or made any statements or anything, which is pretty normal because I'm very careful to make sure that when I'm out in public, especially since I choose to carry, that I'm considerate with people and avoid any kind of confrontations that people might take as being a negative.
So I want to talk a little bit about, and I know that you're very familiar with this, you've been leading the charge against I-594. So can you explain to our listeners what I-594 is and what you guys are working on in the Gun Rights Coalition to actually stop this thing?
Certainly. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm leading the charge. I'm just trying to unite all the groups together so that all of us are working together against it. However, on that note, I-594 is basically it's a background check bill which is being sold as trying to close a sales loophole where private sales are occurring to criminals, when in reality the bill itself is written such that it makes virtually every transfer of possession of a firearm illegal without a background check. And when I say transfer of a firearm, I mean letting your neighbor that you've known for 30 years borrow one of your hunting rifles to go hunting becomes illegal without a transfer. If you loan your father, a firearm, so that they can have a firearm, then that becomes illegal. Teaching gun safety, where firearms are being handled for reasons of practicing safety, even that becomes illegal because of the way that transfer is defined in the law.
Absolutely, yeah, and just the sheer act of going out, target shooting with your buddy or something. You can, right now we can hand each other guns and say, hey, here, Rick, feel free to shoot my gun and try it out and see if it's something that you like. Maybe you want to buy it one day. You're looking at getting it. If I have it, I can show it to you. I can give it to you and let you shoot it. And we're not transferring ownership of this weapon. I'm transferring literally the possession. Here, you hold it for right now. You can shoot it for right now, and then you're going to give it back to me. This law, I-594, would make that act illegal. It would make it actually a felony, if I'm not mistaken. And if you don't get a background check every time you just simply transfer possession, not ownership, possession to another individual, you are now facing felony charges, and each infraction actually compounds on each other. So then if you were to hand it back to me, now we're both involved in now 2 felonies because I did not get a background check to hand it to you. You didn't get a background check to hand it to me. It's really ridiculous at how this law is written and the kind of red tape that it hopes to put onto gun owners here in the state of Washington. And as I've discussed before, this is all just a test, really, just to see if they can get it through. If they want to see how this is done, find out, what they did wrong or what they did right in this, and then move it to the rest of the United States and try state by state. This is the Washington experiment right now with 594, and we all need to know about this. Vote no to 594. One thing I actually want to talk to you about specifically here, unrelated to 594 but adjacent to it, is I-591. Are you familiar with that initiative?
Yes.
So the law itself, this one's a lot more clearly written, and I want to know, do you support I-591, and if so, why? If not, why?
Okay, now I-591, in reality, that is one that it took me a long time to make a decision on that as to how I was going to go on that, basically because of the language of the second paragraph in it, which appears on the surface to turn over state sovereignty to the federal government. In reality, it doesn't actually say that. It says that the state cannot enact or make anything lawful beyond what is already a national standard, which is not the same thing. However, in addition to that, our gun rights are something that we have to stop letting the individual states, decide what the term "shall not be infringed" means. As long as we do that, we end up having to fight I-594 here in Oregon, in Washington. Next year in Oregon and Nevada, which is they've already decided that that's the next 2 places that they're going to fight for these initiatives. And then they have another 3 or 4 states that they already have on the target for the year after that. As long as we keep allowing them to hit us at each individual state, we're going to keep having to fight these fights at the states, and in the end we're going to lose if we don't establish that this is a right that has no borders. It doesn't matter if I'm in Washington, Oregon, or as the previous, as Danielle was discussing, New Jersey, New York, crossing the border from her home state to New Jersey should not have made a difference in her inherent right. That right is hers no matter which side of the border she's on.
Exactly. Yeah, and we were just talking about this with Shanine Allen. The issue here is, we are allowing, as you said, each state to interpret what a human right, or some may say a God-given right is. And the fact is that you have this innate right. It's with you no matter what, and the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. It doesn't matter if the state of Washington thinks it should be. It doesn't matter if Indiana thinks it should be. Michigan. It doesn't matter. The fact is that this is a federal constitution. It is the law of the land. It is what we are all required to go by. And just because a collective state thinks that they can violate that does not mean that it is just or lawful. And for me, I was supportive of leaning towards supportive of I-591. I'm very much like you in the regard of being concerned with the wording of giving the authority over to national standards. What the text actually said is, it is unlawful for any government agency to require background checks on the receipt of a firearm unless a uniform national standard is required. So my issue with this is, and I get why they did this. They did this as a counter initiative against I-594. That way, if they both get passed, each one cancels it out. They're tied up in courts, debating on which one has precedence here. So, for me though, I still don't like the fact that this is a law that is supposed to be for gun rights. It's supposed to protect gun rights, but except it's saying that if the state says that they will not infringe gun rights, but a national standard says it will, that we're now subject to that. I do think that this is actually giving over sovereignty. And you said you disagree with that. Is that correct?
Well, it doesn't actually say that they will follow any lawful. It says that they will not follow any that are, it says it's unlawful to follow any that are not already a national standard. It doesn't necessarily say that they will follow them. It says that they will not. And, with law, just those fine words can make a difference. And I think that was actually done on purpose by the folks that wrote it up, Alan Gottlieb and those folks up there at the Second Amendment Foundation. Or actually, I don't know if that actually wasn't the group that did it. It was another group. But when they wrote it up, I think that to an extent that was kind of ingenious the way that they wrote it up, because it gives the appearance that we will follow a national standard. However, it doesn't necessarily say that we have to.
I understand.
So, and on that note as well, a national standard, if that national standard does not meet with the requirements of the Second Amendment, it's not relevant anyway.
Yeah,
so as far as now, one other thing I would like to mention though on that is if it does pass and I-594 doesn't pass, the one advantage that we do get from that is the I-594 folks, Bloomberg, Hanauer, Bill Gates, Paul Allen, they're going to have a real tough time coming back to Washington next year to try and get it passed again, because we have put in place a protection to keep them from doing it at the state level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I do definitely agree that this has some good side to it. It has some benefits, and it could be, a good thing to get passed. But for me, I'm concerned about the sovereignty issue. I don't want to have a new law on the books just to counteract another one, even if it is a flawed law. I would rather just focus all my energies on going against 594.
Well, and that's what you probably know as well as anyone that most of my energies go on 594 rather than 591. Something else to mention on the state sovereignty, though, is the state sovereignty always refers back to the 10th Amendment. Well, if you read the 10th Amendment applies to powers that are not already enumerated in the Constitution. The Second Amendment is already enumerated in the United States Constitution. Therefore, the 10th Amendment doesn't apply to it.
Exactly. Yeah. It hasn't stopped the federal government.
Really understand.
Yeah.
Correct. It hasn't stopped the state.
they're still on the warpath regardless. But I mean, I definitely understand where you're coming from. The 10th Amendment says the power is not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states respectively or to the people. So, I mean, I get what you're saying. The fact is, though, we have had so many infringements federally as well, gun control. And, I don't think that simply put, stopping I-594 or I-591 is going to stop the federal government from trying to take action and prohibit things. I mean, even something as small and simple as stopping the carry of firearms on, federal installations at like post offices and such like that. I think those are federal infringements of the Second Amendment right there. Perfect examples.
You're correct, and it's not going to. There's no question there that it's not going to. At the most, it might put a check on them trying to come back to Washington next year, the year after, to try and instill these this what they're calling a background check initiative, which in addition to the requirement of a background check on all possessions, transfers of possession, it actually also institutes a full registration of handguns. If you read it carefully, all handguns must be registered, and that's so they go so far with that that if you inherit a firearm, you have 60 days to go register it.
So what happens if, let's say, you inherit a firearm and you have a felony, or for some reason you can't pass a background check, or you just get bogged up in the system? Because as you and I, we both know, and to our listeners out there, the NICS, the instant background check system right now, is so bogged down already. And if we start, especially with a national standard, if we start, increasing the workload on these people, you could not get this background check back for a year, maybe more, if the system gets flooded with more and more stuff that they have to do. So, what happens down the line if you don't hear back from your background check for a period of time?
Well, I think in that case, I think it falls back on the current rules. If a transfer fails for let's say someone gets arrested and becomes a felon, they actually can transfer their firearms to someone else through the system, so they can find someone else for the background check that would apply to, and let them take ownership of the firearm. But that's just speculative. It's not, we don't know for sure what's going to happen there.
Mm-hmm. And it's clear that this law is poorly written to the point where it has created more questions than it has answers. So it just is a big debacle. And for those of you out there, please, if you're in the state of Washington, or if you start to see an I-594 initiative coming your way in your state, you need to be very vigilant on this and actually focus on fighting this and spreading the word about it, and making sure that gun owners out in your area know about it, because I mean, this is pretty crazy. So what are some of the things that Gun Rights Coalition has recently done to get the word out about I-594?
Well, we're very active in social media first, because that's how we get the groups to unite together, so that they know where everyone's working, what everyone's working towards. Share ideas as to what we can do. Putting up signs, being a grassroots effort to a large extent. If we want to put up signs, we're going to have to buy them ourselves. Pamphlets to print out and hand out. Just yesterday, I was out at Sportsman's Warehouse here, handing out pamphlets to customers as they were coming out. Those are some of the things that we can do. In October 18th, we're going to have a big rally right in Seattle, which is, we're taking it right to the heart of, the area where, we're going to have the most problems with these people just blindly signing off on this without actually figuring out what it means. Being an 18-page initiative, a lot of those people are just going to look at the title and vote for it, and we can't let them do that. We have got to let them know what it really is.
Exactly. Absolutely. This law is so poorly written. I believe it's 19 pages of just crap. And you know the thing about it is here is that it's the language is deceptive. It's funded by Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg. He's billionaire. He's anti-gunner, and he's doing all sorts of things. Like for example, the new group Everytown. They're working, and it's kind of in collusion with the I-594 as well to what they say, background checks save lives. And this is the thing that really bothers me. I made a post recently on Facebook about this where I was kind of upset because I know for a fact that Facebook has been censoring basically anything pro-gun. If you're trying to boost a post that has anything gun related on Facebook, they won't even take your money. They will refuse your money because of the message that you're sending to boost a post on Facebook. However, if you mention anything gun-related in a post directly to the right of that, from what I've seen recently, there is a ad for Everytown where it says background checks save lives, and it's very deceptive of the way that they're saying it because this stuff doesn't have anything to do with crime or crime rates or anything like that. It's all about adding more red tape to gun owners. They're creating more problems, more hassle, and they're in the hopes that all these gun owners that are in America or in the state of Washington, for example, will just give up and say, oh, it's too much trouble just to get a gun. I got to go through all these hoops and it takes forever. Why even bother? That's what I'm seeing. But it's clear
that as far as their deceptiveness there, when they say these things, there's nothing to support what they're saying. Not only is there nothing to support what they're saying, but what they're really doing is they're putting an extra burden on law-abiding citizens while doing really nothing to stop criminals. Criminals will always be able to obtain firearms if they want. They're not going to pay attention to these laws. That's why they're criminals. Furthermore, even further than that, the largest law agency in the state, Washington Council of Police and Sheriffs, they have come out and said they don't think this is going to have any effect on criminals and mentally ill. It's still not going to keep them from getting firearms.
Exactly.
Not only that, but it falls upon them to enforce these laws, creating a huge burden that they wouldn't have otherwise.
Man, I cannot agree with you more. I mean, the fact is that criminals, by definition, break the law. And it's silly to think that putting another law on the books that makes it illegal for one criminal to transfer a firearm to another criminal for the use in a crime is going to prevent anything. I mean, in fact, most of these criminals are selling and trading stolen firearms anyway. So this law will, in fact, do absolutely nothing at all whatsoever to deter crime or lower crime rates. The only thing it's going to do is to put more of a burden on the law-abiding citizen, more of a burden on these background check systems such as the NICS and these federal or local agencies that are supposed to be enforcing these laws. I mean, it's unbelievable the amount of bureaucracy that they're wanting to pile on top of these people and gun owners, and it's not going to have anything accomplished. It will not accomplish not a single goal of lowering crime or preventing criminals from getting guns. It's useless, utterly useless, and they are pushing this hard. I mean, Bloomberg is pushing out millions of dollars in advertisements for this kind of thing, and it's not even putting a dent in his financial,
$7 million between 4 billionaires. $7 million that they put into it.
Yeah, and it's not even just Bloomberg though. Right. It's also got a billionaire from Amazon who's helping fund it. The money is so deep. These guys have so much money that the amount in advertising that they're spending is really it's really not a big deal to them because they make so much money off of their interest. They're really not losing money. They're spending money that they gain from interest. They can afford to do this kind of thing. And these kind of like the Gun Rights Coalition and all the other gun organizations, pro gun rights organizations, we gotta fundraise like $20 at a time and things like that to fight these kind of things. We don't have the ability to write $1 million check. So we have a fight on our hands, and I really do appreciate everything that you're doing over there for gun rights, Rick. Do you guys have a website and more information for the Gun Rights Coalition that our listeners can go and find some more information about you guys on?
Certainly. We have gunrightscoalition.org. However, my suggestion is going on to Facebook and going to the Gun Rights Coalition group on Facebook. In reality, that's where the information is the freshest. That's where where all the discussion is going on. And we're not, right now we're really focusing hard on I-594, but we're working with to try and fight for Shawnee Allen. And then, earlier this year, right after we started the Gun Rights Coalition, we worked with the New Jersey Second Amendment Society, who are also part of the coalition, to help get the gun magazine limits. They were trying to limit it from 15, which is what it already is now, to 10, and we helped to get that defeated. Now, it made it through the House and Senate both there, but Governor Christie vetoed it when it came across his desk, and that was something that we helped fight for. So we're not just, right now we're working real hard on I-594, but gun rights, or the right, more accurately, the right to keep and bear arms, we intend to continue past I-594 and keep fighting for the right to keep and bear arms everywhere. So yeah, Gun Rights Coalition on Facebook, and that's probably the best place to get the information at this point.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, I sure do appreciate you joining us, Rick, and thanks again so much for what you're doing. And keep up the good work, man. You guys are the tip of the spear over there. So good job. And again, thank you so much for joining us. All right, guys. So at this point, we're going to cut to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to enter into a few other segments of the show that we have. We got a new segment that we're doing, and we like to call it the hashtag game. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with that.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services, from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LATOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
And we're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us. So at this point, we've started a new segment on the show. We like to call it the hashtag game, and I'm pretty excited about it. I like it because it's an opportunity for me to talk to you guys, have you guys get your information out, like your point of view, things that you guys are concerned about. I think this is going to be a new segment that we're going to do every week, and I'm really excited to start it today. So today, the hashtag that we started, let me just give you an overview of how to play the game. So we issued out a tweet for everyone, and the tweet was, if I can get it loaded here, obviously it would help if I had it in front of me. Anyway, the tweet was, hashtag game, tweet out what you would do if you were the president using the hashtag if I was in charge. You could be on our show. So anyway, the hashtag if I was in charge, that's what we had. We had Owen from Facebook. He wrote, if I was in charge, I would disband the union and tell everyone to grow up and take responsibility for your decisions, for their decisions. So he coupled this with a video from Larkin Rose. And as many of you may know, Larkin Rose is a famed anarchist, so to speak. So, he's a not a real big fan of any form of government, even a republic, constitutional republic, and that his biggest gripe is basically the fact that all government is in term force. So, force through taxes, and I can't disagree with that. However, I don't want to disband the union, but I can understand where Owen is coming from in terms of that. Anyway, Mark from Twitter, he had 2 tweets that he wrote us. The first one was, if I was in charge, I would obey my oath of office. His second one was, if I was in charge, I would respect the Constitution and restore the separation of powers. I want to talk about this for a quick moment, and as you all know, we stand right now in a state of emergency. We are in a constitutional tipping point. We have hit a point where our president, before he didn't think that he had the authority to act alone. He even said it himself. He can't act without Congress. However, he must have found that authority somewhere else. He must have discovered it in his back pocket or something. I don't know. Maybe he was out on a walk and suddenly he tripped over this authority and here we go. He has it all of a sudden. But anyway, our president, he believes that he can bypass Congress. He believes that he can do whatever he wants. He has the authority now, apparently. So, I definitely understand where you're coming from, Mark. And, if I was president, I honestly would try to do the same thing. And we also have Tasha, this is my wife, actually, from Twitter, writes, if I was in charge, I would abolish incentive programs. And, I happen to agree with that. So I'm not a big fan of any program that takes money from someone unwillingly and gives it to another. There's charity. Charity is a great thing. Somebody giving willfully, toward a cause or something like that. I'm a big fan of that. But incentive programs actually enable poverty. It actually creates a bigger problem than it helps, first and foremost. But also the act of taxation. All right, to give to somebody else something that you earned, something that you worked hard for. And the government just takes a chunk out of your paycheck, and then they give it to somebody else. I have a fundamental disagreement with that. I believe that is theft when you take something, because taxes in general, it may seem innocuous. It may seem like it's not a big deal. Okay, hey, we got to deal with it. Hey, we're in America. Everywhere has taxes. But, the fact is that if you refuse to pay your taxes, all right, if you say, no, I'm not going to participate in that, let's say the money's going towards something that you don't believe in. Let's say the money's going towards incentive programs and you disagree with that and you don't want your money going towards welfare or whatever it is, food stamps, which, by the way, I hear so many comments every week where people are telling me how they're in front of somebody in the supermarket and that person in front of them is using their EBT card or their food stamps card, and that individual is getting things like steak and all this amazing food that this person behind them, who is not on EBT, who doesn't get food stamps, this person behind them is not able to afford all this luxurious food. Not to mention the comments about the apparel of these people, that they're all blinged out and wearing nice tennis shoes and things like that, or they'll buy stuff with their EBT card and then immediately buy some alcohol or cigarettes or something after that, with their own money. So basically, we've given them the ability now to fund a habit that we basically took money that was supposed to go towards their food and used it to give them extra money now to fund their habit. This kind of stuff, to me, is upsetting, and obviously I can understand somebody wanting to abolish incentive programs. I get it. Believe me, I understand. So anyway, we are going to go ahead and move on. We have another segment of the show that I want to go into, and it's the Ask Mack segment of the show. So I want to talk about some of the questions that I was asked here. I'm not sure if we're going to be able to get to them all, but anyway, we are entering into the Ask Mack segment.
Time to ask Mack. You've got a question? Burning in your head. He's got the answer. Time to ask Mack. When you got a question, time to ask Mack.
All right. This is a segment of the show where I answer your questions live on the air. So you can ask your questions in several ways. First and foremost, you can obviously call in right now. The phone lines are open. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Feel free to light up those lines, everyone. If you have a question on your mind, ask it. We can have a discussion. I'm happy to do it. You can also email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com and give us your take on whatever is on your mind. You can also tweet your question, but make sure that when you do that, you include the hashtag AskMack in your tweet so that I can find it. And in today's Ask Mac, we had Kimberly from Facebook ask us, why did Congress vote for the U.S. to train rebels when they gave rebels money before? That turned very bad. ISIS is the same behavior, different results. I'm thinking that she's saying that we're trying to do the same thing and expect some kind of different results, which again, as we all know, is the definition of insanity. Anyway, first and foremost, I've covered ISIS. I've covered the U.S. funding these kind of moderate Muslim organizations or moderate terrorists or whatever you want to refer to it. These people are not moderates, first and foremost, okay? There is really no moderate in this area. There's no difference between these people in terms of what they're going to do with the weapons, And first and foremost, the U.S. government's interest in the Middle East it's all born out of an opposition towards the Soviet Union. I spoke about this a few episodes, okay? This basic principle is something very important that you have to understand when you're looking at the Middle East, okay? We didn't want to give the Soviets a foothold in the Middle East. And, of course, we wanted to have access to the oil in the Middle East. Obviously, I mean, we need that stuff for our SUVs and gas guzzlers and all that good stuff, all right? So with that in mind, the whole goal was to prevent the Soviet Union from controlling anything in the Middle East, and in doing that, it hurts the Soviet Union. And, of course, when it hurts our enemy, that's a good thing, right? And when it will actually help us, because then it opens up these oil reserves to us, and suddenly, boom, we're doing better. We got access to all this stuff. All right, we got access to cheap oil. It's all part of the plan. Okay, so that's where it had been going for the longest time. All right, the focus was on stability and creating governments, puppet governments that we would prop up, and we would then use these cooperative dictators to help create some form of stability in the region for us, okay, for the U.S. So in the past, we've armed rebels, and we've done that for decades now. We've been arming rebels, and we've been fighting wars by proxies for years, okay? We didn't want to get our hands dirty and actually send troops, put our men and women on the line. So what we did is we armed people who we considered moderate, or we said, hey, enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So you've got to be somebody that I can trust. I can support arming you. Because if I do that, then I'll hurt my enemy, and that has to be a good thing. They don't think about the repercussions of arming up a group and unleashing a guerrilla-style group out there and enabling them to become a fighting force, a fighting force to be reckoned with, okay? And we saw this. We armed, we trained, we funded Osama bin Laden and the Mujahideen. I can never say that. Mujahideen, there we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, the Mujahideen. And we armed these guys against the Soviet forces in Afghanistan in the late 1970s. I believe it carried over into the 80s as well. But our entire agenda in the Middle East, everything that we're doing, everything that we've ever done, it has been to create stability in the region in order for us to have access to the oil and to prevent Russia from gaining control. That's what it has historically been. That's what we've been doing here for in 70s or so. After the Cold War, things heated up and we started doing, having a lot of conflict in that area. And it was something that we both of our nations, Russia, or then it was the Soviet Union, and America, we have contended with through wars of proxy. Okay. So this agenda, however, for me, this is just my opinion. Again, this is an opinion show, and I'm not a news source by any means, but this is my opinion. I believe that the agenda that I was just talking about has actually changed. To me, it appears that it's changed anyway, at least underneath this current administration. It seems to me that the Obama administration is more interested in restructuring or reorganizing the Middle East. And first of all, you have to ask why. Why are we interested in restructuring in this area? And in terms of what we're doing, what are we actually doing? What is it? What is the cause and effect of what we're doing? We'll get into that in a little bit here. So, this reorganization it's not for the purposes of stability, because it is actually creating this power vacuum that we see. It's actually creating a crap load more instability in this region than we would have had we not got our hands involved into it. But of course, Russia is involved, so we can't stay out of it. Russia is involved in the Middle East. They want a hand in it, so everything that we're doing is to prevent Russia from having any kind of access, okay? So my guess is that the United States government thinks that they can create chaos in the Middle East and then put up some kind of puppet dictator, all right, in order to stabilize the region after the fact, okay? And then that new puppet dictator will then do what they're told, all right? The only problem is that I don't believe that any one dictator can stabilize this entire region. And once they're in that kind of position where they have that kind of power, if, let's say, ISIS takes control of everywhere, let's say Syria falls, they start chain reacting, and ISIS grows bigger and bigger because of the American weapons that they now have, because we abandoned them when we left Iraq, which, by the way, as I mentioned before, it is against military doctrine to not destroy the military weapons when you leave if you think that they could possibly fall into enemy hands. And we know for fact, this is not my speculation, this is fact, that ISIS has gotten military weapons from America when we left. Why? Why did we not destroy those? My argument would be that we intended for someone to get it. So what better way to arm people that you want to arm covertly, discreetly, than by leaving something for them and just saying, oh, we left it. We had to get out of there in a hurry. Whoops, fell in the wrong hands. But we see on social media that ISIS has control of vehicles and heavy weapons and things like that. I mean, they have a lot of resources now thanks to us in Iraq. So anyway, moving on, if we put a dictator in power over there, I don't believe that first of all, that one man could actually control such a large area without being extremely authoritarian. I mean, you're talking about war crimes that you could not even come to an end of the list of how many things that this person would have to do in order to control the region, which is something that ISIS has absolutely no problem doing. They have no problem with, decapitations. They don't have any problem with hanging people on a cross or killing people, stoning them to death. I mean, this stuff, it's whatever. It's everyday thing. It's like, answering your phone or checking your Facebook status to them. This is all right. And this, a fear in these other organizations out there, such as the Syrian rebels. And we'll get to them. Anyway, we have what we see right now in the Middle East is we got secular divisions between the Shia groups and the Sunni groups as well as the Kurds, okay? So things are divided down secular lines right now. And, as I said, I do not believe that it would even be possible for one man to hold all of these people together without extreme force and brutality. All right, it's an unfortunate circumstance that's going on in the Middle East, and we're in a lose-lose situation here. No matter what we do, there's going to be some consequences, something negative, but we just keep playing the hand that we deal ourselves. Anyway, so on top of all of that, the action that we're right now involved in is we're trying again to arm the Syrian rebels. And it's only going to create more instability in the region, okay? Because, first of all, the Syrian rebels have signed a peace agreement with ISIS, all right? This is the group that we're trying to arm them to fight, and they've signed a peace agreement with them. Seriously? Come on. Look, this is all about Assad. This is all about Russia. Think about, all right, take it back to the basic here, everybody, okay? Every action that we do in the Middle East is to cause some kind of pain for Russia, the Soviet Union, all right? Every action we take. So when you look at Assad used to be our dude, all right? Assad is the dictator of Syria, all right? He used to be a friend of the United States, and we tolerated his war crimes because he did what he was told, all right? And basically, this is no longer the case. He stopped dealing with us. Now he's a friend of Russia, okay? He's totally backed by Russia, and, Russia's not somebody that we want to get into direct warfare with, okay? This situation, if we keep going after Assad in Syria, it's very likely to lead to World War III. Point out the fact that the weapons that we send these Syrian rebels to fight ISIS, it's very likely it's not even going to be used to fight ISIS. It's going to be used to topple Assad. And our government knows that. They understand that. They know that the Syrian rebels have signed a peace agreement with ISIS, and they also know, first and foremost, that most of the weapons that they have already sent to the Syrian rebels, when they weren't supposed to be doing it anyway, no one said that they could, but they just acted and did it anyway. Most of these weapons that they've sent to the Syrian rebels were in fact actually taken from them and given to this ISIS group. Okay, so again, we've armed them we've armed ISIS by leaving weapons in Iraq, and they just boom, they walk in and they got them. All right, we got guns, we got vehicles, we're all set. All right, but then we give weapons to people that we know won't attack ISIS, who we know when we give weapons to, ISIS takes it from them. This isn't going to accomplish anything for us. This will not help us in the least. So, and again, don't get me wrong. You know, I have to be clear about this. You know, Assad, he is a ruthless dictator. He has a long list of war crimes. All right, he's not a good guy. All right, but we have put him in a situation. Assad, we've warned them. The United States has warned him not to attack these weapon shipments that are being brought in to supply the Syrian rebels, which are going to be used to topple his regime. So we warned him not to prevent his enemies from getting weapons. And we've threatened that we will attack him if he does. Think about this, everybody, all right? Russia is backing Syria. What happens if we attack directly Syria? Russia could get involved, World War III. And need I remind you guys that Russia is strategically allied with Iran, North Korea, and China. Yeesh. I don't think that we can really help ourselves in that situation. That is going to be a pretty difficult nut to crack, I would have to say. So, anyway, you know, as I said, Assad, bad guy, evil dude, very, very messed up. But he hasn't promoted the mass genocide against other secular religions. In fact, you know, if I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure that he was protecting the Syrian Christians from being slaughtered, from the likes of the Syrian rebels and people such as ISIS. So we're trying to topple somebody who's a stabilizing force in this region, and it's all because we're trying to attack ISIS, who's destabilizing. This doesn't make sense. The best chance to fight ISIS is to leave Syria alone. Let them stabilize the area, at least that area, and stop trying to do things to undermine them. But again, the United States, we're not going to do that because, you know, we want to put the stick to or stick it to Russia. So I mean that is where we're at right now. You know, if we leave Syria alone, that's helping out a proxy of Russia, and we refuse to do that. You know, and again, you know, we put Assad in this position. He's between a rock and a hard place. You know, if he stands by and he does nothing to stop the Syrian rebels from getting these arms, he's going to lose the civil war that he's engaged in right now, and his regime will get toppled, you know, which will lead to the region being destabilized further, and ISIS will gain more control, and they will actually become the Islamic State that they claim that they are already. So, you know, and if Assad does attack the arms shipment, you know, he could be attacked by the United States, which could result in Russia getting involved, leading us directly into World War III. So, again, we face these two terrifying options. Neither one are good things, good situations. We are in a bad spot. In my opinion, the best thing that we can do is to stop helping the Syrian rebels and quit trying to play world police by toppling Assad. All right, I get it. You don't like Russia. But come on, you don't have to destabilize an entire region, having hundreds of thousands of people die because of it. Stay the heck out of it. You don't have any business involved in this region, all right? And if Syria doesn't want you in there, stay the heck out. If somebody asks for our help, that's a different story. We can talk about that. But then we need to decide if these people asking for help are somebody that we should actually support. Should we help them and not just label somebody moderate in order to get it by with the public, all right? This is where we're at right now, okay? So, the United States, they're not going to allow Russia to have any kind of control in that area whatsoever. They're going to continue doing this. We're in the classic scenario right now that if I can't have it, no one will. And the United States government is now proceeding to burn down the Middle East. Let it go up in flames as far as they're concerned. That's what they're trying to do. And again, all of it's because they want to topple Assad. They want to put stick it to Russia, and then at that point they want to put one guy in charge of this region or whatever who's going to be a puppet for the United States. They're going to do what the United States tells them to do. That's where we're at. So, our government would rather see this region burn than allow Russia to have control over Syria. Just one area. They'd rather see the entire region burn so that they can put it back together how they see fit. And the only problem is that further destabilization of this region, it only serves to help ISIS. What we should be doing right now is helping the Kurds. The Kurds, they need help shoring up their defenses. The Kurds appear to be the only people in the region who haven't been extremely aggressive. So I just want to point that out. Right now, the Kurdish people, they're not trying to attack anybody. They're trying to defend their borders. They just want to be left alone. And, again, though, with every action, there is an equal or greater reaction. So, if we give the Kurds weapons, in the past they haven't been aggressive, but does that mean that they won't become an aggressive force? Is it possible that they could? It's very possible. Who knows? I don't know, and I'm sure you don't either. No one knows what will happen. So, it's possible that the reason why they haven't been aggressive in the past is because they didn't have the means. And, I don't know, but I do think that helping the Kurds would dramatically change the situation in the Middle East, and I think it will help bring some stability to the region. I think it will help stop the spread of ISIS, which is what we want, right? That's what I'm told. I'm told that we want to stop ISIS, but again, I don't really know what our objective is if we're not going to help people like the Kurds. And I have an audio here from RT, and they're talking about the U.S. arming Kurds. This is what we're talking about doing now, as well as arming the Syrian rebels, which I think is a big, big mistake. Anyway, here's a clip.
Forces in Iraq's Kurdistan are to be armed by the United States in an attempt to prevent it falling fully into the hands of jihadists who are tightening their grip with their self-declared caliphate. Light weaponry and ammunition will be dispatched, but there are questions about what kind of match they'll be against heavily armed Islamic State fighters. Ghana Chichikan reports.
Thousands of Iraqis are helpless in the face of terror from the Islamic State. The jihadi militants are ruthless and well-armed.
The jihadist forces in Iraq are probably the strongest jihadist forces in the region and in the world. They are equipped with advanced American weapons, and that's how they were able to ethnic cleanse the minorities, Christian and Yazidi minorities, from many areas in Kurdistan or south of Kurdistan, and now they're attacking Kurdistan.
U.S. officials see no alternative to sending weapons to combat the extremists who now fight with American weapons.
You cannot confront ISIS with flowers.
At the same time, flooding an already deeply divided country with more weapons could backfire in the future.
There is no American military solution to the largest crisis in Iraq. The only lasting solution is for Iraqis to come together and form an inclusive government.
President Obama may want a unified Iraq, but the Kurds have long wanted out. And arming Kurdish militia forces could lead to a permanent breakup of Iraq. Any peaceful cessation of the Kurds from Iraq would be unlikely, considering the region's several disputed and multi-ethnic cities, as well as major oil holdings in both Kurdish and contested territory. Now, as pressing as the Kurds' defense needs are, the question is whether the weapons provided for defense today could be used for offense at a later date. In Washington, I'm Ghana Chichikan, RT.
Well, American weapons have constantly made their way into Iraq during the past 15 years. The United States left behind billions of dollars worth of military gear when it withdrew from Iraq. When Islamist state militants captured major Iraqi cities like Mosul earlier this year, they also seized weapons and equipment which the Iraqi army left behind. The US-made tanks, trucks and helicopters, for example. And now Washington is sending the Kurds some light weapons and ammunition. Political activist Raed Jarrah told us the US is pumping in money to thwart an offensive it created the conditions for in the first place.
On the one hand, we see the U.S. Allocating hundreds of millions of dollars to support, fund, and train armed opposition groups in Syria. At the same time, the U.S. is supporting the Iraqi central government against the armed opposition groups in Iraq. The confusing part is that armed groups behind the uprising in Syria and Iraq are linked. You know, an armed opposition fighter in Iraq is considered an enemy of the United States, but once they cross the border to Syria, they're funded and armed by the United States. Definitely foreign interventions and foreign agendas in the region have opened the doors wide for all of these extremist groups. The Islamic State is a small group with 5,000 to 10,000 soldiers, mostly on pickup trucks. They took out 35% of Iraq's territory in a week.
Well, America's long had an eye on Iraq's semi-autonomous Kurdistan in the country's north, which is home to massive oil reserves. But large sections of the Kurdish community also live across the border in Turkey. Supplying weapons to Iraqi Kurds could put the US in a tricky position with Turkey, which has long been engulfed in a violent struggle with its own Kurdish population.
The Kurdish region of Iraq is the one region of Iraq that is more or less firmly under U.S. control. The United States is against the Kurdish movement in Turkey because it doesn't control it. But in Iraq, what's basically existing in northern Kurdistan is a U.S. protectorate, and that's the region, that's where the oil is under U.S. control. Basically, the name of the game from Washington is to keep the oil money flowing in. And ISIS's seizure of the central part of Iraq has basically cut Iraq into three, with the United States directly controlling the north. But if they've used ISIS as leverage against the Maliki government, but they're not about to allow ISIS fighters to invade, to come into northern Iraq that's under direct U.S. control. They want to bomb and force them back towards Syria or places where they're more useful to United States corporate and military interests.
You see what I'm talking about here, right? We don't support the Kurds in Turkey because we don't have any control there. And we support the Kurds where we do have control because we want that oil, man. We want that stuff. And ISIS is a tool for the government right now. ISIS is actually being used by our government. And I'm a little concerned right now at the amount of support that's being given toward the military action towards ISIS right now. And it's important that we discuss this because it's getting so much support right now, although this isn't even about ISIS. Again, it's about Russia. And we're okay with ISIS as far as the government's concerned. We don't really care about ISIS so long as they don't really cause us any problems and we can manage that situation. As long as they're causing problems for other people, you know, like Russia, then it's okay for us. Or if they destabilize areas that we don't have control over, yeah, hey, more power to you, ISIS. And in the hopes that one day down the line we'll be able to restabilize the entire region, put up a puppet dictator, and then we'll have control over that area as well. But we don't like ISIS in the areas that we have control over because, hey, that's our stuff. You know, go mess with those guys. So here we are right now. Any action in the Middle East that we take, it can have any kind of a consequence. I mean, it could have so many unexpected consequences we don't even know. And we have a bunch of unfriendly countries over there and a handful of people who are somewhat neutral towards the United States, such as the Kurds. And we also have our ally, Israel, over there. Anything that we can do over there could backfire on us somehow. So, you know, in my opinion, there is no good answer. There's no great, perfect solution that has, you know, no unintended consequences. Nothing bad could possibly happen to us. You know, the problem right now, though, is that, you know, we need to do something. So, in my opinion, the safest bet is to support Israel. Okay, those are our friends. Those are our allies. And compared to everyone else over there, when you look at the other societies and cultures over there, Israel is the most similar to us, all right? Israel is very, very similar in regards to how they treat people, human rights, and such like that as America. I mean, neither of us are perfect. America's not perfect. Israel's certainly not perfect either, but they are closest to us over there. So they are our closest allies. Obviously, we need to continue supporting them and provide military assistance if they need it, ensure them that if they're attacked, we're going to support them any way that we can. I mean, we have a strategic alliance with them, and we're required to do so according to that alliance. But, according to this president, who knows what's going to happen. If Israel was attacked today by Iran, for example, would we help them? I don't know. Do you? I really don't have a clue what our government would do. I mean, when you look at what's going on in Ukraine right now against Russia, I mean, we have a treaty with the Ukraine saying that we would protect them. All right, we signed it, and it was all supposed to be good to go. They give up their nuclear weapons, and we said that we would protect them from anybody who was messing with them that they couldn't beat. So we're not doing anything, though. In fact, we're creating puppet governments over in the Ukraine, and we're not really helping them in terms of fighting the Russians who are coming in. And I'm not necessarily saying that we should, but I'm just saying, for me, it appears that we are getting further and further away from actually keeping our obligations and meeting our alliances that we say that we're going to do. But anyway, I think that we should. In my opinion, I think the safest bet is to support Israel and the Kurds, leave Assad alone, and use our intelligence to target ISIS leaders and equipment, i.e. blow up our stuff that we left behind, that we should have blown up in the first place. So, I think this is the only option, but I would like to hear what you guys have to say about it. Feel free to give us a call. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, 619-924-0986. And I personally want to thank Kimberly from Facebook for joining us today and for getting on the move. And if you guys have any questions that you would like me to answer on the air, again, you can ask it in several ways. Of course, you can give us a call. The MacPack phone lines are open. You can ask your question on the air. We'll have a discussion. Or you can email the show at talkingonthemove.show.com. Or you can tweet us your question at OnTheMoveShow. Just make sure that you include the hashtag AskMac in your tweets so that we can find them. Anyway, at this point, we're going to go ahead and cut to a quick commercial break, and when we get back, we're going to start into the next segment of the show, and we like to call it the Mack Attack, so don't go anywhere.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LAGOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
All right, we're back. I appreciate you all sticking with us. So when we left, we were talking about ISIS. We've been talking about them pretty frequently here, it seems like, on this show. This is the ISIS information station, apparently. So anyway, the next segment of the show is the Mack Attack. And there's some things I want to get into that I think you all need to know about. So anyway, here we go. All right, this is a segment of the show where I report about outrageous events in the news. So if you'd like to join today's conversation, please give us a call. We got a few minutes left in the show. The number to the show is 619-924-0986. Again, 619-924-0986. Or you can email the show at talk@onthemoveshow.com. Anyway, the question is, are we at war with ISIS? All right, it seems like we can't get a straight answer from our government here, and I want to point out the fact that war is defined as a conflict carried on by force of arms as between nations or between parties within a nation, warfare as by land, sea, or air. All right, that's pretty clear cut, right? That's what war is. If you initiate hostilities, so to speak, that is war. And as you all know, we are in a battle for language. It seems like our government is constantly trying to redefine words and change what they mean and redefine powers and separation of powers and things like that. So, for example, something as simple as, our court system now is now defining a state as the federal government, according to Obamacare, even though that the law was clearly written state as referring to the states. But hey, our judges are now saying that states are apparently the federal government. It's the whole thing. So anyway, without further ado, I would like to play a clip about people in our government talking about the war on ISIS.
There seems a fundamental existential question. Is the United States presently at war with ISIS? Yes or no?
Well, no, Chris.
Is the United States at war with ISIS? It sure sounds from the president's speech that we are.
I think that's the wrong terminology. What we are doing is engaging in a very significant counterterrorism operation.
So it's not war. That was John Kerry, by the way, our Secretary of State. And it's not war. It's a engagement. I'm sorry, let me play that again here so I hear exactly what he said.
Very significant counterterrorism operation.
It's a very significant counterterrorism operation. It's not war, though. It's a significant counterterrorism operation. Here's some more.
I think what you could conclude from this is the United States is at war with ISIL in the same way that we are at war with Al-Qaeda and its Al-Qaeda affiliates all around the globe.
So we're getting some conflicting information. Let's just look at the definition of war, everyone, okay? It's a conflict carried on by force of arms as between nations or between parties within a nation, warfare as by land, sea, or air. So yes, we are at war with ISIS because we're initiating hostilities. And since I'm talking about hostilities, let's talk about Nancy Pelosi, who actually said just that. Here she is.
Well, people use the term, we have a war on drugs and a war on this and a war on that. We have initiated hostilities against ISIS, that's for sure. We're not at the term of art war that would require a declaration of war.
And I just want to point out the fact here, she has some more on here, and I'm going to play the rest of this here for you. It's just a short little clip here, but I have to point out that any kind of hostility, the war power is designated within the Congress, and this has been a growing trend that our presidents just continue to do. They think they have the authority to just go to war, send our men and women to war without an act of Congress, which in fact it takes an act of Congress to conduct war. The way they get around doing that, though, is they say, hey, we're not at war. It's just, an operation, a counterterrorism operation, or we've initiated hostilities. Well, let's not beat around the bush here, people. War is war. It's a very easy definition. Everyone knows war when they see it. If you're shooting at somebody, bombing somebody, you're at war. So just because you think that you can change the definition of war does not mean that we are not at war. You still need to ask for permission from Congress to initiate hostilities, conduct war, anything warfare related. You need permission, but whatever, doesn't matter because, our government has been doing this. This is a growing trend. Our presidents just continue to go to war unilaterally without asking permission and putting our men and women, their lives on the line, and they're going directly against the Constitution of the United States. Congress has the only authority to declare an act of war. But anyway, so, Nancy Pelosi, she wasn't willing to say that we are at war with ISIS, but apparently she's more than willing to declare war on everything else. So here's what she was willing to say we were at war with.
As we do this, there is actually a war on women. We can speak with great authority on that subject because they are used.
Hold on. First of all, I don't believe that Nancy Pelosi can speak with authority on any subject, to include, what kind of shoes she has on right now. I don't think this woman, could speak with any kind of authority on anything whatsoever. But I digress. Here she goes.
Using that issue, the issue of a woman's right to choose in every aspect, whether it's the budget, whether it's the continuing resolution, whether it's H.R. 3, the draconian measure that specifically addresses women's right to choose. Fear is a motivator, and we are not fear mongers. The Democrats are messengers of hope, and that's what we will continue to do.
Okay, so she's not willing to say that we're at war with ISIS, but she is declaring war on women, or at least that there is a war being conducted right now on women. So that's where we stand right now. We have Nancy Pelosi not willing to say and define us as war. And, I'm very worried, like I said, about this situation with ISIS and about the amount of support that they're getting because we're not doing anything against ISIS. We don't care about ISIS, at least the government doesn't. They only care about power and control over this region. Again, so they're arming the Syrian rebels, trying to topple Assad. And, I want to point out here that ISIS is now calling themselves ISIL. All right, and for those of you who may not know, the L in the ISIL stands for Levant, okay? And if you're not familiar with that terminology, don't feel bad. Hey, I didn't know what it was not too long ago either. So the Levant, though, is an Eastern Mediterranean area. It's geographic culture and region consists of Eastern Mediterranean between a bunch of other places here. But anyway, the Levant today consists of Cyprus, Israel, Jordan, Lebanon, Palestine, Syria, and parts of southern Turkey. So when they're referring to themselves as Levant, all right, the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant, that means that they're referring to a much bigger area than Iraq and Syria. It's an entire area. And to take this threat very seriously. Obviously, I don't think our government really cares about ISIS. I don't think that they're really trying to prevent them from spreading. And the amount of extremism is spreading from ISIS. We have American women who are now joining to fight with ISIS because at least they stand for something. This is what's being said.
Support On The Move. Help us make this podcast bigger and better. You can do this by going to our store and purchasing one of our hundreds of products. All designs are original and made for patriots like you. Just go to cafepress.com/onthemoveshow. We appreciate your support. Hi, I'm Latasha Worley, and I work with candidates to creatively and effectively communicate their message to voters. I offer professional graphic design services from yard signs to flyers, from logos to vehicle magnets. Email me today at latashaworley@gmail.com. That's LAGOSHA Worley@gmail.com for a quote on items for your campaign.
Broadcasting from deep within occupied territory on the far left coast. You're listening to On the Move with Mack Worley III. Stand up, speak out, and get on the move. And now your host, Mack Worley III.
Okay, sorry about that delay there, people. So we've had some problems here, some technical difficulty as usual. I thought I could make it through one show without having any kind of issues here, any technical difficulties, but I guess it isn't possible for this to work out. Anyway, I am now forced to call in on my cell phone because of the internet problems and Skype issues that we're having. So when I last left, we were talking about how this stuff is spreading and the extremism throughout the Middle East is spreading to America, and we're seeing it here at home. We have seen this situation escalate throughout our colleges, and if I can get Skype up here, here's the problem. We've got just a few minutes left in the show here, and I don't think now I'm going to be able to play the whole thing. Anyway, we may have to keep this clip for the next show, in which case I will play it for you guys, and hopefully we can get it going here. But right now I'm actually calling in, back on the line here, trying to get this going, and we'll see if I can get this going.
And we can. So, all right. Anyway, I'm off the phone here, back on the line. So, I have a clip here. I'll try to play it in the last little bit of the show here. I don't know if we're going to have enough time, but I'm going to play it anyway. Anyway, here it is.
Good evening. I just wanted to say thank you for coming to campus tonight and presenting your point of view. It's always valuable to have two sets of views going on at the same time. Very useful. My name is Jumana Imad Musa Ahmed Al-Bahri, and I'm a student here at UCSD. I was reading your literature. I found that much more interesting. I found some interesting things about the MSA. If you could clarify the connection between the MSA and jihad terrorist networks, because last I checked, we had to do our own fundraising, and we never get help from anyone. So if you could clarify the connection between UCSD's MSA, or if you don't have such information, if you could connect other MSAs on UC's, because the connection wasn't too clear in the pamphlet.
All right, so we're going to have to get back to this next week here. We're going to lead with this next week, and I'm going to break it down and talk about how this extremism is actually spreading to our college campuses through organizations such as the Muslim Students Association. And it's really scary. It's really scary that this kind of stuff is here at home, this anti-Semitic hate that is being preached out on our campuses to our students. And, people are supporting this kind of stuff because, hey, at least they stand for something, right? So anyway, I sure do appreciate you guys for tuning in today. I want to thank you guys. I want to just really shout out to the Mack Pack for tuning in week after week. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate your continued support. And don't forget to check us out at OnTheMoveShow.com, here at blogtalkradio.com/OnTheMoveShow, Facebook.com/OnTheMoveShow, YouTube.com/OnTheMoveShow, and Twitter.com/OnTheMoveShow. And as always, know your rights, assert your rights, and get on the move.